Good morning to you. Mark South, HurricaneTrack.com here. It is Friday, the 21st of July, 2023. I am in Las Vegas, Nevada, getting ready to head over to Pahrump, which is on the other side of the Spring Mountains. Going to be working with a couple of my colleagues today to test some new equipment from Starlink and cover the heat out here, the southwest monsoon. We'll talk about that briefly at the end of today's update. More importantly, though, as the headline there says on the thumbnail, watching 95L closely. Yes, it is starting to make some noise, as it were. So let's get right to it, shall we? First of all, there's dawn while winds are still 50 miles per hour. Wait till I show you satellite animation of it. I told you the other day I thought it could be one of those systems that could pull some surprises, and I think it is doing just that. But then this is 95L, and I like that the Hurricane Center mentions that now in their outlooks, sort of embracing how we all in the weather nerd world call these things. We know that it's an invest area. Anyway, it's 95L, and I'll show you that in more detail in just a moment too. A very interesting system may be taking shape with that. In the East Pac, we do have a tropical depression, but as I'm going to show you real quick here, nope, not going to do much. And let me bring me back on. When I'm back on, it's important, right? Because I'm talking to you, not just at you. The fact that we're not getting these long-lived, powerful hurricanes in the eastern Pacific, which hurricanes do what? They throw up a lot of convection into the atmosphere. That rising air goes up, it spreads out, usually, and it has to sink somewhere. It does all kinds of things in the local environment and then away from it, and that can affect the Atlantic basin when the eastern Pacific is very busy. It's not very busy at all. Calvin, yeah, that made it to major hurricane status, but I just think it's an interesting sign that we are not getting prolific development in the eastern Pacific just yet. So just something to keep in mind. Satellite animation this morning. We won't worry about the East Pac. So let's focus on the Atlantic basin real quick. There's dawn. I mean, holy cow, look at that. It's got an eye. It has developed convection around it. Now, you got to understand, it's shallower convection. Convection is thunderstorm activity. And you've got your 60,000 foot convection like we see with some of these thunderstorms over the United States as of late. That's a whole other story. And then you've got shallower convection, meaning it's not as tall in the atmosphere, but convection or the thunderstorm activity nevertheless. And Dawn has got that, and wow, that's something else. So we should see an upgrade, probably 60 miles per hour, maybe more, and if it persists, maybe, just maybe, and I opined on this, there's that word I rarely use, the other day, that Dawn might become a hurricane. Maybe so. Some strange things can happen with these mid-latitude, out of the deep tropics type storms. Now, the other system down here, let's use the red color here to really make it highlight. That's 95L, and it is starting to develop that look. There's abundant mid-level dry air around, so it's going to struggle. But the fact that it is developing its own convection in the face of that dry air, clearly it has circulation with it, right? And it is moving steadily off to the west and west-northwest with time in the vicinity of the islands over here. So you folks in Barbados and westward from there definitely need to keep an eye on this over the coming days. You don't need me to tell you that, but I am just emphasizing it. We need to watch this very closely. Looking at one of my favorite products here, an important product at that. This is what we call the Vorticity product here. This is from the University of Wisconsin, their Cooperative Institute for Meteorological Satellite Studies. And look at what's happening down in the deep tropics there with 95L. That's what I look for, that low level, 850 millibars is about 5,000 feet in the atmosphere. That's the framework. It's there. So it's got the low-level framework. It is developing some convection. I imagine that at the 2 p.m. update from the Hurricane Center, these probabilities go up. Right now we're sitting at 20 and 40, if memory serves. 20% over the next 2 days, 40% over the next week. I think that's going to go up. And we might have something to deal with here. The models are struggling this year, it seems, because we have so much heat out there. This is just my opinion. So much going on in the world of anomalies. The waters are warmer, the air temperature is generally warmer depending on where you are, and it's global. And this system is not a large, sprawling, huge area of energy like a large tropical wave would be. It's down in the monsoon trough. It's just harder for the models to see. There's the air quotes, right? It's harder for the global models to see. So this is going to be very interesting to watch over the coming days, especially as the more specific hurricane models start to latch onto this system. All right. Also, you can clearly see it on the precipitable water. This animation, really neat product. Pretty large moisture envelope over here coming off Africa, but there, out here in the open tropical Atlantic, is our system. Look at it. It's in the monsoon trough out there. Hard to detect because there's not a lot of energy associated with it. You see on the satellite animation, or not the satellite, well, it's a satellite product, but the vorticity shot, it's easy to pick out sitting along about 40 degrees west longitude. So that would be right around in here. And the point is, look at all of this available moisture, but it's very limited right now. It's just right in that band with the ITCZ, the Intertropical Convergence Zone. Drier mid-level air resides to the north, but this push, that's really significant in my opinion. Look how far up in latitude that goes. We are moistening up the atmosphere in the deep tropics as we get towards the last third of the month of July here. Things could start to kick off. This is going to be really telling to me if 95L goes on to develop even into a tropical storm, and I know I might be jumping the gun a little bit, pre-islands, that would be another indicator that the deep tropics down there are conditionally favorable for development, even though we are about a month away from the traditional start of when we look that far east. It's climatology. If we're beating climatology, again, that's going to be a really big signal to me that the season could be on pace to be one that is both active and potentially quite impactful. So this product here, I love it over at Tropical Tidbits, the dashboard that Dr. Cowan has set up. As I said, look at Dawn. Are you serious? My slow internet here at the hotel. Wow. Developing limited deep convection. And that's what I mean. There's convection. Clearly, it's wrapping around, but it's not way up in the atmosphere. Deep thunderstorms where it's like, whoa, look at that. All those very cold cloud tops. But it's enough that this thing is strengthening. And we're going to have to see, does it become a hurricane? Hey, it could be possible. Then let's just look real quick at Invest 95L. This is the infrared. Now, this definitely has deeper convection than does Dawn. You can see that thunderstorm complex blows up. But watch, too, this is a very telltale signal of dry air. Watch, it looks like an explosion of convection, and then it kind of dies down again. That's because that convection draws in the air. You have to have something to make that air go up. You have to pull it in from somewhere else, the inflow. And what is it doing? It's ingesting that mid-level dry air around it, so these storms go up and then they go back down. They're not sustaining just yet, but this is far more progress than we saw with this yesterday. It has definitely got that rotation in there down at the low levels. I showed you that. The framework is there on the vorticity signature. This could be off to the races as it gets farther to the west in even warmer water and less Saharan air layer influence. All right? All right, so let's look at one of the products here. This is the GFS from the 6Z, actually, let's see. Yeah, 6Z run today. Had to make sure I'm out in the west. It's like 3 hours behind East Coast time. And we'll use blue here to signify everything. There's Dawn. Don't worry too much about that, but I am circling it for you. And then there is the very small but notable vorticity signature in the GFS there down at the lower levels, 5,000 feet, like I said. So let's watch as these evolve here. Let's just go out to the next 5 days in this situation, all right? So there's 24 hours out. And really, let's just focus on, there's Dawn. Interesting, could be, like I said, a hurricane. We shall see. But let's watch this area right through here with the GFS as I put this into motion frame by frame. 48 hours, and then 72, and then 96. It just starts to come together there, and then finally by day 120, entering, right splitting there, the islands right down the middle between the windwards and leewards. small, and that's what concerns me. On one hand, it could succumb to the dry air and just remain a well-organized small tropical wave embedded in the easterlies down there, or it's falling through the cracks of these global models and it develops more than we are thinking it might. All right, don't want to be alarmist, but we have to look at the possibilities. And based on my experience, these smaller systems can go quickly, but they can also die off quickly. So you got to balance it there. And my purpose is to make sure that you are thinking about it and you are aware of it. And the first area of impact, no matter what it does, because it's not just going to vanish and be nothing, the first impacts are going to be for our friends down there in the islands, maybe Barbados and points west, north, and south, also from there. All right, like I mentioned, let's wrap this up quickly. I'm in the southwest U.S. Heat warnings, all kinds of stuff going on out here. Hot weather shenanigans, that's a good way to put it, but it's very dangerous as well. And, of course, the south. Look, again, this is very rare. Weather, heat is weather. I mean, we can't get away from that fact. Look down here in South and Southwest Florida, excessive heat warning. You don't see that very often at all. And you say, well, Florida's always hot. You don't get excessive heat warnings in Florida like this. That means it's way hotter than we are used to seeing. But it's also that way out here in the desert Southwest. Like I said, I'm going to leave here, the Vegas area, jump over the Spring Mountains, go through the pass there to Pahrump. And we're going to make our way over to Death Valley, and let's click on that. The high temperature today, it's already 104. Yay! It's going to be 126 degrees by the time we get there, and we're going to take our Starlink system, and if everything works the way we hope it does, hopefully going to do a hit on Fox Weather in the 4:20 Eastern Time hour, just talking about this. But we're testing some things we're going to use during hurricane season. We've got a couple of our programmers coming out. Just a lot of stuff going on. We like to test out in the field. It just makes it more, I don't know, not exciting, but it's more productive. It gets the wheels turning. If you're on Zoom calls and just emailing and you get ideas that way. But boy, when you get everybody together, magical things can happen that helps to shape the future of what we are doing. All right? So that's why we're out here, and that's what we're doing. I know I landed in Vegas, and that has all kinds of, oh, you're in Vegas. Nope, I'm here to work. I love what I do, and I appreciate y'all's support as I do it. All right, and speaking of that real quick, remember, you can get up on Patreon there without having to pledge a membership. They have opened it up, if I allow, and I have, to everyone. So you can sign up, follow our posts there, make them all available to everyone, and then when you're ready to pledge, and sort of like buying a movie ticket once you're inside the auditorium, well, that's once you've bought the ticket. You're inside the lobby area and you've seen the posters. That's my analogy here. You're free to walk in and check everything out on the movie posters. That's actually a very good analogy. And then if you haven't decided on which movie you want to see, you buy the ticket and you're good to go. Same thing with what we're doing with our crowdfunding, but more importantly is the information to you all. I love that you help fund it for me, certainly. But yes, Patreon open to all, and then you can sign up for a level that best suits your budget later on. All right, let's get this online for you, and I'm going to get to work. Out here in the desert Southwest, I am Mark Sudduth, Hurricane Track. Thanks for watching. I'll have something else for you tomorrow morning.